mic and...
Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for coming. We have welcome coming from New York. This is your first open event. Thank you so much for being here. Great. And from Monterey, thank you for coming. Yeah. And then Numan, thanks for re-engaging with Open. There you go. Very good. So, Farooq Saab, thank you for coming all the way from San Fran. Much appreciate it. And we have a new doctor who's moved to the area. Is also there. You go. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for coming from San Fran. So, we're very excited. Well, first of all, let me say this: the folks who don't know, there's an organization called Open. It stands for Organization of Pakistani Entrepreneurs in North America. But it's not just entrepreneurs, it's professionals. It's essentially a relationship building and organization. We want to help us build relationships within the community. And this is one of those great events. So you'll meet new people, make sure you get to know each other. And this event is around this most exciting book by Zareen. We all know Zareen's restaurant. Thank you, Zareen, for doing all the work that you do. And of course, I heard Umair, of course, who's your husband, better half. I don't know if I should better half. Half.
You never call the husband better half.
Well, half. That's why I stopped myself. The other half. He could be better. But yeah, but he, so of course, co-author of the book with Zareen. And that's great. And then our host today is Asma. Thank you so much for hosting us. We can't wait to see your cooking YouTube channel. She's been threatening it for many years, and I can't wait to see it.
I consider a potential
Yes. Yeah, and the potential competitor. Yeah, at least do it yourself. So very good. Well, thank you so much for hosting. So let me turn it over to you.
Assalamu alaikum. I do? Yes. Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and Eid Mubarak. Welcome to Open Silicon Valley Fireside Chat with our very own Zareen and Umair. Thank you for coming out. I know it's a weeknight. And I wanted to thank Amir Bhai, Amir, Heather, and Open for organizing this. My name is Asma Hamid, and my only claim to fame is Zareen loves my cooking. Oh, yeah. And
I love your cooking. That's also clear.
Zareen
loves your cooking.
Zareen. This is serious business. And I'm known as Bilal's better half. Better for sure. It's my pleasure to moderate this chat with Zareen and Umair today. So, although they don't need an introduction, Zareen was born and raised in Karachi, is an IBA graduate and a Northeastern alum. Her corporate career entailed product management across many companies, including RMS. She left to start what has now become Zareen's restaurant group, mashallah. And Umair was also born and raised in Karachi, as an MIT graduate and founder of Folio3 and Mentors Fund. He is a visiting professor at UC Berkeley, teaching entrepreneurship at the College of Letters and Science, and most importantly, a founding charter member of Open. So please take good notes for good questions, and we'll take that at the end. So Zareen, from the culinary heart of Burns Road, all the way to California, tell us what inspired you to start Zareen's.
Well, most of you are in corporate, so that was one of the inspiration that I didn't want to work in corporate. So I wanted to do something different, something of my own. And then I made a list of all the items that I wanted to do. Number 2 on that list was doing something around cooking. So that's how I started, and the kids were young. So I thought if I do cooking classes, they can also help, and Umair would also be able to help. It would be much easier. So that was the reason why I quit, and then started something small, and slowly it grew. So that's where we ended up now.
So I don't know if people know this, but you wanted to be a doctor. And from personal experience, doctors are horrible cooks. How did you go from wanting to be a doctor to an entrepreneur and an amazing chef?
So yeah, my lifelong dream was to be a doctor, but the year that I was applying, the government of Pakistan decided that even if I get all A's, I'll still not make to the cutoff that's required for girls in medical school. So that kind of pretty much was not working out, and my parents said there's no way we'll let you go outside of Karachi. So the next step was to go to IBA, which is a really good school. I really enjoyed it. That gave me a good business sense, but I'm Memons, so it's kind of given, a little bit. So from there, we came here, worked in many places, was not happy. So cooking was not my passion really, but whatever I do, I like to really get to know things and do it better. So slowly one thing led to another, and we started the restaurant. Do you want to add to it?
It was just actually incredible that when she left corporate to be with the kids, a few months in, she was extremely unhappy, and that's really, to her credit, she wanted to start something. To me, her journey, and we'll talk about it later, I'll let Zareen continue with her story, but I teach entrepreneurship, I teach the lean startup method. You start something small, you test it, train it, and build on it. And honestly, her journey from those first cooking classes, taking the best of that, to then do, the frozen kebab delivery, taking the best of that to office catering, and the stuff that really worked there, to the first restaurant, and so on. It's an incredible journey. Yeah.
Javed, you were one of our first few companies that I made food for.
Yes.
And quite regularly, I think, right?
Talia for Javed Saab.
I have it. Can you share any funny stories early on, especially if it involves Umair?
Oh yeah, it did involve Umair. Because when I started doing kebabs, my sister came to me and said, "Itna pad likh ke tum kebabchi ban rahi ho? What's going on?" And then I'm like, "Hey, listen, I want to do something. I don't know what else to do. This I like it." And then we started doing caterings, and I would go and set up at other places, even friends' house, I'll be like setting it up like a server, because I really didn't care. It made me happy. And a lot of people would say, "Oh, look, kebab," not lot, a sliver, say, "Oh, kebab queen is here. Is Umair's business okay? Is sab kuch sahi ja raha hai ke nahi? Why are you making these dollar ke kebab?" And so those were some. But then now the same people turn around and said, "Bola tha na, we told you you'll do so well."
And we'll talk about it, but honestly, the family, the friends, and the community were exceptionally supportive, right? The first year or two, as you know, with any startup business is very hard. The one funny incident around the early days is, look, I and a bunch of folks here were early founders and charter members of Open. So many years in, when you go to a big Open conference, you hold court, or sab aate hain, "Oh, Sir Umair aaye, ye wo, pearls of wisdom." So I'm holding court, talking about, venture capital and term sheet nonsense and all. And then I get a text. And it always starts, if there's a problem, it has to start with SOS. So I get an SOS text, and it says, "There are no more alus. Bring alus." And then I'm like, I have an important meeting to take and Zoom call to take, so I'm off. And I'm off to get alus.
I remember that.
So, Zareen, I'm sure you know this, but Birria is synonymous to Zareen's now. We have a lot of family and friends that come from out of town, and their trip is not complete without a visit to Zareen's. So, what do you think? Why do you think you're so successful?
Just own up to it, yeah. Just say it. What have you done, right? Like, what does it take to make any startup successful?
So there are few things that I think we did right. One is I didn't give up. Like, if you think about it, the cooking classes, it was a lot of work and made zero business sense. But I kept doing it. Then one thing always leads to another. And so it's to identify the opportunity and go for it, not to kind of hesitate or something. I just do things. If I think of something, I do it. So that was another reason why we did well. Then I am very particular about the way things should be, so that's another reason. And then the food generally tastes a lot more homier, and it kind of talks to the crowd that we are trying to do it. So I think that must be the reason.
Yeah. So Zareen is a perfectionist, as any entrepreneur here knows. You just have to, it's all about the users, right? So if you can delight the users, you're going to win. And I'll give you an example. We did, we do Sahur night here during Ramzan. And so at one of those, our son Salik had started working here. So we told Zareen to go back home at 11 p.m. And I will hang out with the guests coming, and Salik will, host everybody. And at 12:30 a.m., I get a text. Okay, and we're hanging out here. She's supposedly asleep. I get a text from Zareen saying, "There are no brown pyaz on the halim." And I'm looking around like, okay. And then I go and I see there's cameras, right? And where the halim is being served. Or halim ke upar, aapko wo brown pyaz bada zaruri hai. So she's doing the whole computer vision, कि it's yellow halim, there's no brown dots, so there's no brown pyaz. And so I'm like, fine, we fix it. And then 15 minutes later, there's another text that's saying, the halwa is crumbly. The halwa looks crumbly. And I'm like, just please go to sleep, right? It's 1 a.m. Nobody cares, everything's fine. But she always cared.
This I did because I remember going to a restaurant that I liked long time back, and I was really in the mood for nihari, and we ordered nihari, and it was really not like nihari at all. It was like water, like soup. So I went to the owner who was there, and I was like, hey, this nihari is so disappointing, na? It's so pani and all that. It's not tasting like nihari at all. He said, yeah, I know, they didn't make a good nihari this time. Right? Now, if this happens here, the entire batch would be trashed out, and we'll say we don't have nihari. End of discussion. So I think those small things add up,
Yeah.
So many of us see the success that you have, mashallah, and not many know the struggles behind it. So tell us about some of the challenges you faced. I know you talked about these small little things, but something that we wouldn't know behind the scenes, the challenges that you are dealing with have dealt with.
The biggest challenge I had was we started this whole restaurant. I had no idea where to hire people from. And that was the biggest challenge. I remember one day I had one girl that came in and she said, I really like to cook and all. I said, yeah, I'm looking for people, just come please. And she said, I'll be the chef. I said, okay, yeah, be the chef. So I taught her how to do things, and I was the cashier. It was lunchtime, busy Google crowd line there. It was just me and her. And then she sent something like that was not good. So I looked at it and I said, hey, this kebabs are not fried properly, right? And she said, oh, they're not fried properly? Here's the apron. You fry it. And she just walked out. And there's a line, I'm the only one, I'm taking orders, making the food, giving it away. So this is how hard it was. And first 6 months I thought there's no way we'll survive. But if you actually can go through that rough starting period, I guess things get easier,
So that's the restaurant side. We know that you have 3 children. How do you balance your work life and personal life, and especially Umair?
So Umair is very understanding because he's very supportive. And so
Note Bilal. ये वाला आपका कान खराब नहीं होना चाहिए. सुने जरा. This is the important part.
yeah. So Umair was very supportive. He supported me throughout the whole journey. ये नहीं चल रहा?
नहीं, इसका नहीं है.
This is only for the recording. So you have to speak up for everybody
I thought
else.
this is a mic.
No, this is just for the recording.
Anyway, so I always felt like a very guilty mom. There was no doubt about it that I felt guilty all throughout. And but I did make a point that I would come home, pick up the kids, drop them back home, then go again for catering. So, and the kids were also in high school, and that was the reason why I started with cooking classes, this and that, to kind of keep me in the flow of things, that helped me a lot. But I remember in this restaurant twice actually it happened. Summer, my daughter who's standing there, she had never seen this restaurant. So when she came here for the first time, we took her from the front and she saw all this and she started crying. And she's like, oh, I can't believe I know where you started from and where we are. And she was so proud of it. So that was like a good moment of celebration for me. And same thing happened with my younger daughter because she was pretty young in high school when I started. And I always thought she must hate me for not being there at her games and all, because it was hard for me to make it to everything like before. And then one day she told me, it's like, who inspired me the most? Who do I look up to the most? And I said, Daddy and this and that and all, because I was always such a guilty mom. And she's like, no, it's you. I know where you started and I know what it took to be where you are. So those kind of things, you feel good about it.
What role do you think the Pakistani community and some honorary Pakistanis like me played in your journey to success?
Sometimes this gets so intense, then I start thinking, what have I done to my life? I'm not like before at all. I don't have time to do gardening that I loved, or meet friends, or call them over, or do any of those. But then when I talk to you guys and I meet it just feels like, being an ambassador to my country, and it makes me feel like it's all worth it. Because it does get pretty challenging there at times, and I do question it. But there is no way I could have been here if it wasn't for the support of my friends first, and then the community. And that's why people always ask me, so where do we start? It's like, start with your friends, start with your community. They're going to give you a chance.
We're in the heart of Silicon Valley. We're surrounded by aspiring entrepreneurs, in particular women. We see many home cooks, like myself, young and old, wanting to be the next Zareen. What message or advice do you have for them that are looking to start something on their own?
Seriously, one of the reasons why I keep doing what I do is I want that somebody who's unhappy in the work or sitting at home thinking they don't have any skill set to look at me and say, oh, she's not a trained chef, but she did this, so maybe I can do it too. And the advice would be to always start small and then keep growing it slowly,
I mean, I would just say that you make a very good point usually about how kind of we all, have people pitch great ideas, right? But then the whole point is persistence and perseverance, right? So do you want to talk about how women talk to you about the idea?
Yeah, a lot of people come and say, oh, we have this idea, we want to do this jewelry thing, we want to do the tiffin thing, and I think they're all great ideas. Maybe they make sense, maybe they don't. But what I see is that they start out, but there are two problems. One is that they give up really fast instead of adapting or changing the way things are. And the other thing is they're not willing to compromise on their lifestyle at all. Like one of my friends started this really good daycare from home, and she started on the summers, the kids will come home and she'd teach them. And I think it's a brilliant business model. But then she quit, and I was like, hey, why did you stop this summer? It's like, nah, my in-laws are coming from Pakistan. Like, is your husband gonna stop his job because his parents are coming? No. But you made a point that, oh, my in-laws are coming, so I'm not gonna do it. So you have to compromise initially, for sure.
And you need that, and I think therefore you need that support, right? Like there is that asymmetry, right? Like if I'm doing that, right, then folks around me are like, oh, Umair's doing a startup, we have to support it, right? It's not even questioned, right? But if sometimes the woman is doing that startup, right, there isn't quite that symmetry or that balance or equity in terms of support from the in-laws, from the family, from the spouses, and so on, right? Yeah.
Okay, I know you're a very private person, and since you had a lot of free time, you decided to, make your own cookbook, write your own cookbook with the help of Umair.
No free time. And this
Exactly.
is
What motivated you to write this cookbook and share your story to the rest of the world, especially being such a private person?
So this was Umair's idea, okay? So first time he pursued something for 1 year was when he wanted me to go out for a ball in grammar school. Okay, he's like, you have to go to this, you have to. I'm like, no way. But then for 1 year, Umair persisted, and at some point I said, okay, yeah, fine, I'll talk to my parents about you. This time, it took him again 1 year to convince me to be part of this book, because between the 3 restaurants, there is like very little time I have. But then Umair kept reading to me all these amazing descriptions that he started writing even before I said yes. Okay, so then finally I said, okay, fine, Umair, I'll give you the recipes and I'll test them out for you, but that would be it. Nothing more than that. So, you want to talk?
Sure. So yeah, so I did 8 semesters of creative writing at MIT, which was a very lonely experience. But I love writing, I love reading. So I'm always looking for projects where I get to be creative. So this was, my idea and my dream to do something that was an ode to Pakistan. There was an ode to Pakistani culture and cuisine. And, I wanted to partner with Zareen on this to have her, bring her recipes and her know-how in. And it was an incredible journey. First convincing Zareen, but then how many of you want to write something? Okay, so the rest of you are completely wrong. Everybody should be looking to write, right? Okay, reading is our communion with the past. Reading gives us all a lot of joy, right? Writing is our communion with the future. You owe it to humanity to leave something for the rest of the folks, right? So that's my burden and my responsibility and my ambition, right? So that's how I started on this, but little did I know how much effort it would take, right? So I and Zareen are reasonably well known in this community, right? We are unknowns in the New York publishing industry. Right? So it took 1 year and 4 months of rejections, okay, and revising proposals and going after publishers, then going after agents, then going with the agents to publishers to finally get Sasquatch Books, which is an imprint of Penguin Random House, to take this on. But the motivation was to create something of beauty, first and foremost. So this is a genuinely beautiful book, right? The recipes are amazing, the photography is amazing, the spotlights on women are amazing, the fact that half of our earnings will go to 8 charities is amazing. The cover art by Iman Bano, Begum Bano, is absolutely amazing, right? So it was to create something of beauty, it was to, be a gift to Pakistan and Pakistanis and our culture, right? That was kind of sort of our motivation. And Zareen's specific motivation in this was around women empowerment. You want to talk about the spotlights, or should I? All right. So over here you see, our ode to women and women empowerment across the restaurants and all. So in this you have spotlights on the women that Zareen and I admire, and we wanted that to be part of the book. And each of them chose a charity, right? That we will donate to. Zareen chose Behbood Pakistan, I chose Doctors Without Borders. The folks here, like if you know Sana Amanat, creator of Miss Marvel, Rupi Kaur, the poet, they all chose their charities, and we will be supporting them. So it was, many goals around this one book. Yeah.
So I hear a lot of the challenges that you went through. What would you say to people that are looking to publish? I know there's a struggle, but what would you tell people that are looking to publish?
One thing that we got rejected for was not having enough followers on Instagram.
Yep.
So they're looking for a cutoff of 25K followers. And that was one reason why they didn't want to choose us. Yeah. They know that if you have 25 followers...
So yes, you better... So you could be the next Manto or James Joyce, and in this day and age, it doesn't matter. Or at least it doesn't matter that much. But if you have a following... So we were able to convince that between my entrepreneurial circle and obviously the fan base of Zareen's, we don't necessarily have a social media following, but we have a following. So if you want to write a book, publish anything, right? It's very unfortunate, and I hate to say it, but TikTok, right? Instagram. Put yourself out there and get the following. Yeah. And then the other is you have to get an agent. So I went fruitlessly to all the publishers, and it wasn't easy until, I was finally, Zareen and I were able to convince an agent to take us on. And then it took another 6-7 months. Yeah.
That's amazing. Many say cooking is an expression of the land you come from and the culture of that place. And when you walk into Zareen's, we see it. And when we look at this book, we see it even more. Talk about the challenges and maybe the biggest joys you've had during the project.
In the book writing project?
Yes.
The book project.
Yeah, the book project.
What was the challenge?
The cooking at home, non-stop.
So this is the first time so usually they have people who actually help, cook you can give the recipe and somebody will test it out and let you know. I didn't know about that. So I ended up doing a couple of times. I had to go through the recipe again and again and perfect it. So that with this time, I didn't have much time. So that was really hectic. Then again, when we were doing the photography, our photographer was very precise, and Umair too. So I had to keep making the parathas again and again to get the right color, this, that. So it was time consuming to start with, to go with.
So if any of you wants to write a cookbook, the secret is, oh, you want to write? I knew Mahmood would write a cookbook to rival. Yeah. Okay, there you go. So you can get a ghostwriter and a ghost cook. You don't have to do anything, right? And so this is not ghost written and it's not ghost cooked. Like every single recipe here is Zareen cooked at our home, because this is for the home cook, right? So translating this to home, remembering all the recipes from our growing up, childhood, families, and making them over and over. And then, of course, the editors, like Zareen would say, okay, salt and sugar or whatever, or mirchi to taste, or oil, andaza, right? There's no such thing. So you have to measure everything precisely. So that was a serious work in all of that.
For the first time, I said, make the biryani the chicken until cooked, and then I'd get comments on just that one sentence. What do you mean it's cooked? How long it will take? How will it look? What temperature? What time? It's like, we don't make like that. We say until cooked, or the rice is done. At what point rice will be done? So everything had to be precise, and that was hard because we have induction cooktop at home, so that's always very different from other people. Then we use different salt and all, so to have like exactly how much salt to put. So those things were a little demanding.
So it was This was 3.5 years of our lives. More mine than Zareen's, except for 6 months when it was entirely Zareen's life. But it's been like, but it's a pleasure to see where things have come and to see all your support for this. Yeah.
So I haven't had a chance to make any of the recipes, but I did have a few people asking, like nahari and chicken tikka masala. Is it the same recipe you use at the restaurant?
And you're on record.
Would you give your recipes out if you were a restaurant? No, maybe not.
If I did a cookbook, I'd have to.
Maybe. But
it is very close.
It is close. It's adapted. Obviously, we make in big batches. We have different utensils, cooking. We also have. We have to also look at our customer base. Like for instance, the chicken boti I make, I don't put yogurt in it. At home, I would put yogurt because it comes out much better. But we have a lot of people who are gluten-free and dairy-free, and we want to give that option to them. So I had to skip the dairy part of it. Now, if you make it at home and say, oh, इसमें तो yogurt नहीं डाला था, dairy-free था, and she's given this, so then it will be a little different. So it's hard to kind of completely give away the recipes and also not adapt it. I want to make it easier for our next generation to try it, and if I complicate it too much, they won't try it,
I think, I think Zareen's success is that it's authentic but accessible, right? And this cookbook is all about making Pakistani food authentic but accessible, right? So you have to make it accessible, right? Like this whole thing, the lines you see there, right? It's not full of just South Asians, right? But at the same time, it is authentic. So the Nihari here has to stand up to, Nihari snobs like me and you, right? And so that's what this is all about, right? So in that, certainly some of the thing, but like, for example, in the chicken tikka masala, tomato se leke, the fenugreek, methi, wagara, it's all exactly how it is, right? So tried our best. And so far the reviews have been, pretty good. People have been making this stuff and all.
Yeah, I'm a home cook, so I understand. Like, if you use the different onion, the taste is going to be different.
Yep.
So it can't be exact, but you have the general recipe to try out. So how has the pre-launch looked like, and what do you expect next?
Yeah, so look, Penguin Random House took a huge chance on us. I mean, we're like two desis, to them completely unknown, right? And they called me about a month back. So the official launch was March 18th, and they called me a month back and said, actually our editor, she was like, 90% of cookbooks sell less than 100 copies. Right.
Wow.
So that's an actual fact, just to let you know. You can look it up. The average cookbook sells 1,000 copies, right? Thanks to the pre-order from the friends and fan base and others and all, the booksellers, Barnes & Noble, Amazon in particular and others, had ordered at that time 4,600 copies, right? Wow. So they were pretty happy that, okay, we're not going to lose money on this damn project, right? So they were pretty happy. And they had actually, in anticipation of that, the printing they had sent, the original run was for 9,000 copies, right? So that's what we got in our first run. And then a week before launch, they called me again and said that the pre-orders are looking so good that Barnes & Noble and Amazon have upped their orders. And so now the orders are at 12,500. And so we are, and they're like, but we printed 9,000, so the book went into a second printing before launch. Right, so the second printing is now just on its, shipping out from China now, right? So, I mean, we're just very happy, and look, we want as many people to get to know and love Pakistan brand and, Pakistani food. This is really about that. Look, we never take our success for granted, but mashallah, Zareen, doesn't need necessarily excessive amounts of marketing. We always want other people to know about us. But in terms of, we as a community, we have to understand that while we have reasonable amounts of success and affluence, we need much more influence. We need much more representation. We need to stop being the others. We need to reach out. And I think food brings us together, right? It's in celebration that you stop being the other, right? So really hope that, this is gifted out to people. People get to see it, love it, enjoy it. That's our hope for it. And also in terms of writing checks, it was actually amazing. We wrote our first check because we got our advance royalty. So we wrote our first check for a few $1,000s to Palestinian Children's Relief Fund, which is one of the 8 charities we've chosen, and now we're writing checks to the others, right? So that feels just amazing. So hopefully we'll write 5, 6, 7-figure checks to all these charities.
I think for me, what's most important is that there are not too many Pakistani recipe books that are out there. There are some in Pakistan, of course, but not internationally. So for me to be another book in that arena makes me feel very happy about it. And I feel like overall the image of Pakistan and the knowledge has gone up, because when I first started the restaurant 10 years back, people would ask me, so is this Indian food? Are you Indian? And I would say, no, it's like Indian food, but I'm from Pakistan. And then there would be a little bit of a pin drop silence, like little bit like that. I could feel it, But now, thanks to so many influencers being Pakistanis, women making it to Food Network, Pakistani women being mentioned, Pakistani food getting a recognition, I see a lot more people are like, oh, Pakistani food, let's try Pakistani food. So I feel really good, and I hope more and more good Pakistani restaurants and influencers come through, and that kind of makes Pakistan a normal kind of a household name instead of something like,
When will we see you on TV, Zareen?
Yeah.
We watch a lot of Food Network at our house.
Oh, I have a story about that. And she doesn't want me to tell this. So Food Network came calling. Okay? And this was, Guy Fieri on Food Network.
Yes.
So his team called us, right? And there was an email, and I was super excited. And Zareen's like, oh no, I can't go on TV. And I'm like, no, yes, you can. And so I, sort of pushed her to kind of accept the thing. And there was an interview. And the first thing on the interview, they asked, hi, Zareen. She's like, okay, first of all, I just want you to know I'm not a chef. And I was just going red in my face and having a heart attack. And then she's laughing, smiling at me. She knows how I'm feeling. And she goes to the interview. But basically, she turned down, at that time, Food Network. But I think since then, I think she's had a change of heart.
Yeah, I feel like it was a mistake on my side, because it would have given such a good exposure to the general public about Pakistan women, because people think, oh, we are like sitting somewhere chained to the stove and all, so that would really change the perception. And maybe I should have gotten out of my comfort zone a little bit to help out, but it is what.
Next time.
There's still opportunities.
Yes, absolutely. So getting out of the comfort zone for all of you to lean into your identity, I think it's an important lesson. Yeah.
So So do you want to read an excerpt from the book before we go to questions?
Yeah, so please get your questions ready. Please pass the food around. Samarjan, can you tell folks maybe we can get some warm naans, and I'll just tell Salik to come and look out for folks, and I'll, while you're enjoying this, I'll read a couple of things quickly. So my favorite item here at the restaurant, like it's the nihari, which of course is not available right now, so I'll read you an excerpt of that, but also Memni samosa, which is actually Zareen's family recipe. So Memni samosa, to those of us who grew up on this snack, the samosa belongs among the great triangular concepts of human civilization, right alongside the Pythagorean theorem and the love triangle. We who first savored this snack as toddlers know that a samosa must be savored hot. With our first crunch escape wisps of aromatic steam, and we smell once again our childhood. May we always savor all three sides of a great samosa: taste, texture, and nostalgia.
I'm in Memons.
Yes.
I can say this is exactly right.
There you go. Thank you, Ji. So I'll read. Anybody from Karachi here? All right. So there are many contenders for the world's second best stew. For anyone who has experienced it, the top spot forever belongs to nihari. Buns Road is the culinary heart of Karachi. 20 million citizens course through congested arteries to get their cheap feasts here. Right? So as you walk into any of these stalls and nihari houses there, this is what you'll see, right? As you survey the laden tables of your fellow patrons, the efficient servers will bring out your niharis and naans. The thick, shimmering beef stew in front of you was prepared all night and all day for you. Large chunks of shank meat and marrow bones were simmered overnight in a harem of spices, made velvety with a flour roux in the morning and kept smoldering through the afternoon. With a burly piece of naan, pull apart the tender meat and quench it in the hot stew. You may, with complete disregard for moderation, opt for the buttery saffron sweetness of shirmal instead of naan. Pro tip, order both. Having seen such wanton behavior daily, your servers will replenish your naans and shirmals without passing judgment on your perspiring gluttony. Tip them well. Eating nihari at Buns Road is a sweltering, voracious, primal phenomenon, like Karachi itself. That's on nihari. Thank you. So, and then the last one I'll do is actually one of our Zareen's personal favorite is on the aloo gosht. I think it's earlier on. I should have marked this.
आपको वहाँ से कैसे मिला?
So on aloo gosht. Overlooked amid kebab and curry feasts, aloo gosht was the meat and potato staple of our childhood. It is only when we glance back across many winters abroad that we savor in return its loyal devotion. Done right, aloo gosht has a confident, unvarnished richness that its flashier curry cousins envy. Its light consistency is perfect for basmati rice, so give roti and naan a miss and enjoy mouthfuls of pliant potato and succulent meat atop sauce-drenched rice. In its nourishing simplicity and tender textures, our vagrant hearts retaste our first summers. And so we beat on, migrant boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into our aloo gosht past. That's aloo gosht. Okay.
I think we can open up to questions.
Now I just want to eat aloo gosht. Yes.
Go ahead.
My question to you, Zareen, is such a inspiring story. Thank you for sharing all the tidbits and your journey to opening up this wonderful restaurant. What I was wondering is that when did you know when to open it and really go for it? When you make that jump, when you have a dream, and then not knowing exactly how to start, you may have all the answers to all the questions.
So when I first started, I wanted to do something of my own, right? And that's when the cooking classes came in. And I would be practicing all the time. The kids would come home. They would love all these new dishes on the table. They loved it. At that time, I had never thought of opening a restaurant. I never thought I would be able to handle it. I know Umair had mentioned it, and I'm like, oh no, I cannot do it. There's no way I can. And I'm so glad I didn't, because if I had thought of such an ambitious goal at that time, I would have given up, really. So the cooking classes then led to, frozen kebabs. That the community was so well receptive of those. And then people like, Javed Bhai and all would say, oh, my company is doing lunches, would you like to try it? And I did. So I did take the opportunity when it came my way, or even went after it, The first time when I thought of a restaurant was actually in between catering and the restaurant. I found out that I had mouth cancer. And around that time is when I realized how important it is for a woman to have a passion of its own to move on, with life. So after the surgery, Umair would drop me to the kitchen where I was working out from, and I would make the kebabs and all, and that kept me so focused and felt normal. I didn't feel like, oh, I'm in a different group now, I don't know how much time I have. And that was the time when I realized that I need to do something of my own, because it was so therapeutic to actually work and do something that I like you're in a happy place. So that was the time when I decided that maybe I'll try with the restaurant. And it was very hard. And the first 6 months I regretted every day of it. So.
Yeah. Question there.
If she gives her.
And Nadir also had a question.
So obviously, I was the unlucky one who got into Dow Medical College. Not able to become the Burns Road was our go-to place. So my question is, at this time, can I learn cooking from you?
Cooking classes. I think the idea is very good. I think we can have a personal class just for you, and then I want to see you cook and post it on Instagram. Okay, while she's testing it out.
So can you talk a little bit about the recipe testing process? So you were, before the event started, you were saying you cook multiple times. I'm very curious about how that works. Did the food ever come out so bad before you wanted to eat it, or if there's something slightly wrong, 5 things slightly wrong, how do you fix that?
So before even the cookbook, even before the restaurant, I used to have my own personal blog. So I would write recipes whenever I would be stressed or something. I would want to write something, so I would write a recipe, just think through, like the halwa puri and all. I don't have the actual recipe, but I just make the recipe out of memory and keep tweaking it till it feels like Bansrod ke halwa puri. It doesn't come close, but it comes pretty close. So that's how I had written the recipes already. And then when Umair told me about it, I said, okay, let me try out the recipe. So I would write the recipe and the proportions in my head, how I would think, and then make it and see if it makes sense. There are a lot of times when I start the recipe, I start small, even for the restaurant. And then I also do andaze se. So I have to look at things to kind of figure out how much I'm going to add. So suppose andaze se, the chili powder is 1 teaspoon for 2 pounds of meat. Then I would write down 2 pounds of meat, and then I would take the weight of the chili powder or whatever ingredient and see how much is my andaza coming out in grams, and then scale it. So the same process I had used for the recipe then.
So these were not recipes from scratch that we randomly came up with, right? Zareen's been cooking beyond the restaurant for a long time, but they were not necessarily documented the way you'd see them in a cookbook, right? The way you even write a recipe out, you have to say half teaspoon, and you have to spell out teaspoon. You can't say TSP. Okay, and it's that measuring teaspoon that you guys know. It's not these tablespoon or teaspoons, right? So that's where a lot of the effort from Zareen came in getting that precise. So I don't think she, even in those testing and the photography, our neighbors were very happy. There was nothing that came out bad. Zia Yusuf was very, very happy. Right? So yeah. But there were all these tweaks that had to be made. Yeah. Nadir.
So where you wrote eloquently about the Karachi culinary experience, and so what is it about the Karachi street food experience, the Karachi dining experience that you guys have tried to recreate here in Zareen? And follow on to that is, how do you keep the food authentic? Like you mentioned, you have clientele from all over. We're in Palo Alto in the heart, next to Stanford. You have people from all over. So how do you handle that balance? So you feel the pressure to kind of have a different kind of fusion food to maintain the authenticity. So we can talk about that as well.
I'll talk about the second part, that how do you cater to the entire different kind. So I do, whenever I make a new dish, I usually have it as a special, and then I get feedback. If the feedback is good, then it makes it to the menu. But I'm always very thoughtful about, okay, this non-desi crowd is gonna come, desi crowd. So if you look at our menu on weekdays, it's a smaller menu, and mostly some you'll say gola kebab and shami kebab and all, but you won't see the nihari and all the things that the desis like, because the desis usually come on the weekends. So come Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we start adding more dishes that are for a desi palate. Then there are items like gola kebab. So our cashiers are trained to say, oh, gola kebab, you have to be adventurous if you're going to like it. Because kafi dafa, they send it back. And it's like, what is this, cat food? Why is it so soft? But that's how we eat it, So those are things like halim, for instance. I only have halim. Our recipe is really good, and I like the way it comes out. But there are two issues. We don't have a chef in the restaurant, so I rely on non-desi cooks to follow the recipe properly, and they have a hard time sometimes. And then Goras return it because they can't tell the difference between halim and dal. They think it's the same thing. Where's the meat? Right? But we do have it during Ramzan because there is this huge demand, and it becomes a special treat. So we do small things like this.
So, look, I think, as I said, the secret is, this friend of mine from Berkeley, he actually tried to recreate a scene like this in another city. We warned him it's not an easy thing. Didn't work out. But the guy's a PhD from Berkeley, so he wrote his wonderful thesis on his, sort of take on how desi restaurants, why they succeed, right? And his thing was, there's 4 segments of your target users, target foodies. There's the brown, there's the brown white, there's the white brown, and then there's the white. And these are not complexions, these are tastes, you understand, right? So the browns, right? We want this much tail on top of nihari, otherwise uske chehre pe noor nahi hai, right? And then there's the brown white. You can put it there, yeah, over here.
I think we are all done eating.
We'll just put it here, right? Let's just keep eating. So there's the brown white are, say for example, our children and others who have a balance of, our culture, our food, but also food here. Then there's the white brown who are people who are, not South Asian, but have started to acquire a taste for South Asian food. And then there's the white who, have almost never had curry, right? And he said the secret is to absolutely nail brown white and white brown. Like get both of them to fall in love, right? And then some brown browns will come. And maybe even some whites. When the Stanford kids bring their, parents visiting from Boise, Idaho, right? So the point is that it is, and yes, thanks to Berkeley PhD, not my thing, I'm just the messenger. But Zareen really has made it authentic and accessible, right? And that's what we want from the cookbook. So, the Karachi food scene, by the way, if you know Mark Weens and all the bloggers, they're going crazy on the Pakistan food scene, and particularly the Karachi food scene, right? So it is actually more accessible than when we think. Right? Yes.
I have questions on the publishing. You had indicated it's a challenge to get a publisher. Have you ever thought about doing this process when you were maybe self-publish?
Yeah. So my first book was self-published. It's College Application Hacked, How to Get into Colleges. I do that as a nice hobby, and I wrote this, and it's kind of this little cult classic. But I self-published that, and it's perfectly fine. With this, we wanted the finish and the quality to be at a point where it could be a real point of pride for Pakistani food and culture, right? And this would be very, very hard to self-publish. And then getting out there, like this book is available at Walmart, at Target, at Omnivore Bookshop. In principle, you can go to all of them, right? But when you have a distributor like Penguin Random House, right, they'll take their pound of flesh, but they will get you out there, right? And I have to say that for me, the editors, and same for Zareen, right? If it wasn't for our editors, this would never have been written. It's like your fitness trainer, right? You have the trainer, you go to the gym, right? You're paying so much ungodly amount for your trainer at Equinox, you're going there, right? The best of us, I'm sure, can be that self-disciplined to finish it. But I think that's where you need the publisher, right? So our editor was after us, deadline after deadline, right? And so I think having that discipline, having ultimately those aesthetics, I mean, Begum Bano and Zareen and I can take credit for this, but actually our art editor at Sasquatch Books, she literally, I think she did this more than the three of us, right? Her eye was just immaculate, right? And interestingly, the salespeople at Penguin Random House rejected this cover. So rejected this cover, and this is a gorgeous cover. Like I and Zareen just love it. The back cover, by the way, this is all commissioned by Zareen and I. So the back cover is Bunce Road meets Calave in one place, right? Because that's what Zareen has done, is brought Bunce Road right next to Calave, right? So they rejected it, saying it's too childish. And they replaced it with a picture of like Salan or Nihari. And our art editor actually then stood up. I mean, I was not going to say, bow to it anyway. But actually the art editor said, no, this, and honestly right now, like people look at this and they want to gift it, so people like, there's somebody gifting it at 100 gifts at a conference, right? And I think a lot of that is, judging a book by its cover.
For a novice cook who is inspired by this to cook, what is one recipe that each of you would suggest starting with?
So what we have done is we've given levels, so you can see which one is easy and which one is harder. But I would recommend somebody starting out would be chicken karai. I think it's generally an easy dish to make. And mine doesn't have that many ingredients. We don't, one thing I've noticed that home cooks put a lot more ingredients than actually what we do in the restaurant, because we need to simplify it. So same with the book. It's not that complicated. So I think karai chicken would be one.
Yeah. So there are exactly 2 recipes out of the 95 that are actually my recipes. So one is the yakhni, which, by the way, if you want to go on a paleo keto diet, you have to have lots of broth and soup, right? So I'm very proud of the yakhni recipe. Zareen really likes it. And the other is the first thing that all of us who come as students to colleges here start to cook, which is aloo keema, right? So the aloo keema, it's taken me 35 years to perfect, and my aloo keema is very good, and it's relatively easy. So I think I agree, kadai chicken and aloo keema would be the ones. Yeah. Sorry, and you had a question? Yeah.
What's been the most surprising part of your journey so far? Both a good surprise and a bad surprise?
Most surprising part.
So the good surprise is that when I started, I never thought that Zareen's will be where it is. Really, my thought was that, hey, I think I want to be occupied and I want to be financially independent. I think all women need to be financially independent regardless of what their husbands are doing, So that was my motivation. And what has really, I never thought that the community involvement will bring so much satisfaction to me, as well as so much recognition by the broader community, not just the Desis. So things that I would do normally for my employees or for charities or fundraisers or donating to schools, but they did catch eye of the commerce department. What is it called? Chamber of Commerce of Palo Alto. And they, in a very competitive list of businesses, I was selected as a Tall Tree of Palo Alto Award. And this is it's a very prestigious award. Never thought I would have that. Never thought we will be recommended by Michelin. Actually, I found it by mistake. Like, I was just Googling Zareen's reviews and I found out a Michelin guide restaurant. I'm like, oh, when did this happen? You know? So I never expected that. And yeah, that's been a pleasant surprise. And I'm so glad I took this journey. Unpleasant would be, I think, the fact that I don't have the kind of life that I had before. So I really miss that, and I hope at some point I can have time to smell the flowers and do gardening like I used to, or do more social work, especially back in Pakistan. So those are the things.
I'll just say on that question, you know, how the community, not just the obviously South Asian community, but the local community, Palo Alto and community has rallied around us and fallen in love with Zareen's is actually amazing, right? And so when offices shut down in March 2020, our revenues plummeted. A few days after the shutdown, we started to see an unexpected source of daily revenue. Prior to COVID, we typically sold about 1 or 2 $25 gift cards every week. We were suddenly selling $600 worth of gift cards every single day. At first, we had no idea what was happening. And then we realized it was the local community buying our gift cards just to support us and our staff. Many would come, return their gift card unused. Their love kept our staff working and our restaurant running. Amid the encircling gloom of COVID, they remained the kindly light that led us on. Karachi will always be my hometown, but Palo Alto is home. Other questions? I think yes.
I just wanted to say, first of all, that you're incredibly inspiring. We just moved here from New York, and the minute we landed in San Jose, I was like, we're coming to Zareen's and we're eating dinner here.
How did you know about Zareen's in New York?
My cousin used to live here, and I don't know if you know about the food ranking app Belly, but it allows you to like rank different restaurants. So I went on his list, and it said like Zareen's was at the top of his list of like places to go to. So I was like, okay, gotta go. We love eating. So it's been really special coming here and enjoying food from home. And you're from Dallas and Houston, and I've never seen a place like this, even there.
Wow.
But I have two questions. Question number one is, we're both Memons, and my mother-in-law makes kosa with besan atta, and my mom makes it with coconut milk. So which one do you? What's your
Very specific question.
That's a great question. Khause ka bataएं.
So this is a Memni style khause.
Yeah.
It's made with yogurt curry, which has besan in it, as well as some coconut milk.
Yeah.
That's very political recipe.
Yes. Yes.
Somebody's going to get offended.
Yes.
But it's one of my favorite recipes, and the day I make it, we get sold out like.
It's always sold out here. Whenever there's a special here.
And my second question is, who inspired your love for cooking? I come from a home that we cook everything. My dad is the main cook in the house, and we're making like samosas at 10 p.m. and kebabs on the grill, you know. Who in your life really inspired and pushed you?
So it's my brother-in-law.
Oh wow!
Punjabi. From Lahore.
From Lahore.
Yes.
Very picky.
Yes.
Very, everything has to be precise. We were not that picky growing up. Okay, my mom would like whatever. Aloo gosh every day. Aloo gosh every day. You know. But he was very particular, and he was one of the youngest of. They had 14 kids, so he was one of the younger ones. So his mom was not that well. So he would actually help her, and in that process, he learned how to cook. So when he first, we were introduced to him after the mangni and all, and they sent us shami kebab. And I had never eaten shami kebab this good, you know.
That, no.
I'm like, is tarah ke bhi hote hain. So he's very good, and I think he did influence my cooking a lot. You know, the shami kebab recipe that we have here is his recipe.
Yeah. And the pulao recipe in here is very close to. Yeah, she consulted him for the pulao, and he's mentioned here, he's very happy that her sister is in the acknowledgements, but he's in the main essay. I think any final questions before we wrap up? We good?
So when does Zareen's go national?
Oh, God.
National, before national, we have to have him on the East Bay.
On the East Bay.
Yes.
So.
But generally, what's the...
What's the?
So my son, he went to Davis, did computer science. We were very happy that oh, ab AI shuru ho raha hai. That would be really good for him and all. And he graduates and comes out, and he's like, I don't want to do coding anymore. And we had him talk to Muazzam here and this person here, and like, please convince him that he cannot do this. He worked so hard for 4 years, and he's now refusing to code. And he's like, no, I want to work for a startup. So I'm like, okay, what startup? That's a good news. And he says Zareen's. So now he's working, and he has the startup life that he now sometimes feel like बहुत ज़्यादा.
This is Salek, yes.
Salek. So if Salek wants to take it to the next level, maybe. But
by the way, Muazzam uncle and Usman uncle and all that, we forced them to please talk to Salek. I don't know what they said, but they literally they all convinced him कि आओ रोटियां बनाओ. I don't know what the thing was, but yes.
But yeah, as when I said, rely on your community, it really helps.
Yeah.
And that's true. Like Javed bhai helped me with this, or Zain helped me with all the insurance questions. Because Zain kya kare? And there is Umar Farooqi. Is like anytime I had any issue, Umair, what do we do? I remember the first contract was written by him, and pro bono. Seriously,
Wow.
So I'm very thankful for all that, all of you.
Folio3 के लिए भी pro bono कर दो ना यार कुछ. Okay. Asma, up to you. Anything else?
Any last questions? Just wanted to thank everyone for coming out. I learned a lot. You guys are very inspiring.
And I think
maybe next year.
Yeah.
You have an. I'm very aspiring. I mean, I just don't like the lifestyle.
Competition. That's what I fear. One day.
One day. My kids are a little younger.
Yeah, and now he wants to learn how to cook too.
Yes, I think that it's all on you now. So again, thank everyone.
Please enjoy the food. Please enjoy the book. Please tell people about it. Get reviews. We want this to be an absolute bestseller. We want it to top the heck out of everything. We want,
And if you're giving something to the schools and your non-Desi friends, please choose Pakistani products like the book or Kishmish or Lajawab or any of this, We can all promote each other. Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you, Ms. Asma.
Thank you.
Well done.